good doctor?
I used to be. I won an award once from the mayor. Had an expensive frame.
They're all gonna die.
The day I get out of prison, my own brother picks me up in a police car.
Top news stories of the week. Time to find out once again with Megan Olson and News of the Week on the Al Travis Show.
I love having her on the program. She takes the biggest stories of the week, and we discuss them here in the state of Minnesota. Megan, might I pull the old man card, the get off my lawn card, the Minnesota and this country may never come back from what's going on currently card? Can I play that card with you for a moment?
You know, I'll allow it this week, Al.
Thank you very much. This will be the top story of next week. It hit this morning, and it's driving me over the cliff as far as what's going on. I'm sure it'll have to do also with Champion. We'll talk about that. Our fine Minnesota Supreme Court says female breasts are not lewd or inherently sexual and can be exposed in public, according to Star Tribune. The Supreme Court of the fine state of Minnesota looked into it. So it's basically some gal in Rochester was walking around throwing her goods out there to the public to see.
This is way back when. I mean, 2020 something, yeah.
Yeah, but the cop said, hey, stop that. She said, I'm a stripper. You can't tell me what to do. Basically, she did it 2 more times. They throw her in the hoosegow, says you're going to get a ticket. She goes to court. I don't know if this stripper is, a brilliant legal mind or she's on top of the wave of the culture going to heck in a handbasket. That's the old comment. She goes through here, and the Supreme Court says, well, the statute that we've been going by since 1885, I'm making up whatever number. Well, this was the same as the New York statute back in 1885, and it said lewd and mischievous whatever. And we can't really describe in today's world what's lewd behavior, so we can't really hold it against her. So now what they basically said is gals can hang them on out there as long as they don't do it in a lewd way.
Yeah.
What in God's green earth does that mean, Megan? Are you kidding me?
So I saw this decision come out, and when you dig into it more, it's because we're kind of towing the line on this, gender issue of, if you're transgender one way and not the other, and they just don't want to open up that can of worms here in Minnesota. So they're saying, it's
here's the can of worms you open up. Bob says if women's parts are just as long as you're not using them lewdly, I'm going to let Big Al out, just wander around naked. I didn't do it lewdly. And they're going to say, well, that'd be sexist to go after Al and not the ladies.
I think it's funny, too, because this case was this gal was at a Quick Trip, just walking around in the parking lot. So are we going to see more people walking around the Quick Trip?
Yes, this is my point. So now I'm begging any senator, representative that listens to this program, I want a law. I want you to write it tomorrow. The hide the lady law, the Al law, put them back away law, because this is nothing except hurt our children. There's no reason for this. The Minnesota, we can't tell you what lewd is. We back to Clinton. We don't know what the word is. Stop playing with me. We're trying to ruin something. I'm sorry.
Well,
that's my old man speech. It's wrong.
Seeing the Department of Justice is investigating the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, so I wonder if they'll step in on this case too and do something else. I don't know. Is it going to continue to go up through the courts? I don't know if it was the Rochester Police or the Olmsted County Sheriff or who it was that was involved in this lawsuit, but are they going to appeal, higher on up? I think if we move this to the federal courts, we'd see that it'd be a different outcome.
But I'm not lying here. This is crazy. We can't tell you what lewd behavior is. Just your knockers are out. Put them back. We don't have to go down this road.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my old man speech.
Times. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
And we're going to get to a point you can't come back. Like I say, some guy's going to wander around saying, well, I wasn't being lewd. You treat me different than women. And then that whole issue they're trying to avoid is right back on home plate. We just got to stop.
Minnesota's an interesting place these days. I mean, I kind of alluded to it, but one of the top stories here from the week is...
Let's go with the Bobby Joe Champion. Can we do that quick? I know
yes.
Because this isn't that same I'm an old man, just stop it category. So here we are. Senator Bobby Joe Champion, the president of the Senate. He resides on the Ethics Committee. He is a lawyer. Been doing this for years. He gets a client of his $3 million. Now, he worked for the guy pro bono, got him $3 million for this reverend for his little group in Minneapolis. Find out now there's another $1 million. But anyway, somebody finds out about it, and he goes to the ethics committee, pulls himself off, puts in Senator Pappas.
Which I applaud him for, knowing, this is
agreed.
not in the book.
But then he goes and asks them for a ruling on it. Are we allowed to do this or not? After he's already done it. Mm-hmm. If he was really the guy, he did it beforehand, right? And said, hey, my client's doing this. But he waits till after the Republicans say, we're going to have a court case on this. We can't decide. So this group of knuckleheads can't decide. Now they get to have the trial. The little, did he do wrong or didn't they? And what do you know? It's split. We can't do anything. We're going to just let this go.
So it's not dismissed, but it's not. There's been no action on it. So it's just kind of out there in the abyss of the ethics committee, I suppose. But basically, I mean, the reason why they got to this stalemate is they're saying that our rules aren't super clear. Our Senate conflict of interest rules they're not clear on this. And so if we want to revisit them, maybe we should revisit them. But because he was doing that work pro bono, I think that's kind of where the hang up is. Like, the conflict of interest policy is you have to financially benefit. Is he financially benefiting if he's working pro bono? Probably not.
Here's the killer. He could have got that money to that guy anyway. They had all three legs of the trifecta. You could have said, hey, by the way, my buddy Bob needs $3 million. Trust me, it's good money. Go get it. And he could have did it. Right? And still got the money there. He doesn't bring it up because it feels a little like my buddy Bob's getting $3 million because I'm in charge. It got an iffy feel to it. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. If he really wants to show me how great he is, and I like Bobby Joe, he needs to set a law tomorrow saying we're going to clean this up. Here's how it's going to be from now on. If you have any connection, your next door neighbor, if it's the kid who dropped off your papers and you're going to tip him extra big, I don't care what it is, you need to disclose it.
And I think I said this on the show before, is sometimes it might not even be a conflict of interest, but it's how it's perceived.
Thank you.
As a public servant, you kind of have to do your due diligence. And if it looks like, oh, maybe this is a little fishy, it's probably best to take a step back.
A little fishy. This guy he worked for pro bono, loved the guy's work, gave him $3 million.
Was paid by this organization in legal capacities. This particular thing was just pro bono.
But $3 million to the guy, NGO, that they didn't have like a request for proposal. Other companies could try to get it. They named the company and gave it to Bob. Mm-hmm. That isn't in case it might be. You come out and say this is why. And that's back to, we can't tell you what lewd is. I can't tell you what the right ethics is. Heck, the ethics committee can't. But I'm telling you, this stinks to high heaven. Make a new rule. Make it ironclad. So the next senator says, I can't come near this with a 10-foot pole. You know why? Because I will look bad.
Yeah.
That's my. I'm just on the front lawn on it.
The action that they take out of all of this. I mean,
they're not going to do it.
Formally dismissed. They didn't really take action. Are they going to look again at these rules? I don't know.
I hope I live long enough to see you when you get my age and you feel the crappiness I'm. Here's the thing. We have a young lady in the Senate who allegedly got dressed in black, drove 4 hours, climbed into her mother-in-law's basement to get a few things she was hoping to pick up and do a welfare check. We can't even decide if that's becoming of a senator or not. We're going to stay out of it. There's no reason for an ethics committee. There's not. This idea, I hope they do the right thing and make a new law. No way. They all love the fact that it's ambiguous as all get. We've got an ethics committee. Well, they didn't come after me.
It's embarrassing that something like this is a party line vote. It's embarrassing that we're at a deadlock on a party line vote. I mean, it just seems so clear that it is very wrong. But even if they were, 3-1 or 4-0 on being against Bobby Joe Champion for this action, what comes of that?
See, but that's exactly right. See, ethics are not right and left. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And if they came out 4-0 and said, Bobby Joe Champion, you should have let us know. And that's the worst case of it. Then they put a little...
It probably would have still passed.
Exactly. And then they put a note in his file and say, Bobby Joe, we told you shouldn't do that. Don't do it again. Fine. At least we all agreed that it's the wrong thing to do. And right now we can't agree on that.
And his replacement on that ethics committee is, I believe, Senator Sandy Pappas. And she said, it's in the eye of the beholder. This whole situation, however you look at it, it's really just up to you. Not really taking a strong stance of this is right, this is wrong. No, it's just everyone has their own unique perspective. And
you're going to bring it. You're going to bring this all the way around before we go to break. That's exactly the problem with the lewd and mischievous breasts being able to be out there. one man's lewd is another man's modesty, and we can't decide what's what. It don't matter. It's a free-for-all. We'll be back with more after this with Megan's News. I know I'm the old man now. I don't want to be this old man. I'm the old man on the lawn. It's not who I want to be.
It's okay.
Somebody's got to be.
I permitted it this week.
Thank you. I feel better.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease! It'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
A as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
All right, I feel a little bit better. Did you have anything to talk about this week? Sorry.
You know, I did. And I'm glad we kind of got that out of the way. You had a little bit of time to cool down during the break.
I'm better now.
I'm going to stick with the theme of being cooled down and say, you know, we've talked a lot about fraud on this show, and kind of the big news story out of this last week is that, you know, these fraud fixes or these proposals in Minnesota actually have bipartisan support. And it seems like we might get somewhere. But I will say kind of the one hitch onto that is the big thing that is being proposed is this Office of Inspector General. So a completely new office in Minnesota that would look into, you know, all these grants and funding and track the spending and all that. Most agencies already have that in existence, and they clearly failed to do their job. So we're going to continue funding those. But we're going to also add this, you know, massive, big new agency. And I say it in that way because to me, it's a little bit comical that we're going to continue working on these things that haven't worked in the past, but then also, well, let's just feel good and create something.
I put an ice pack on my knee. I've had a bad knee right now. So I put a little ice in a Ziploc baggie. And I realized the Ziploc baggie's got a bit of a hole in it, very much like these people trying to stop fraud in the state of Minnesota. So I go out and get a bigger Ziploc bag to put the little Ziploc bag in the big Ziploc so I still don't get water on my thing. And then once that doesn't work, well, you know what you do? You grab a bigger Ziploc. You know what the problem is here? We're not fixing the hole. Mm-hmm. Fix the hole.
Yep.
Sorry. I am old man today. What did you catch the thing with the Hennepin County attorney?
Oh yes, I mean I alluded to it earlier on the show. This is, I mean, this is huge. This is the Department of Justice, big federal arm here coming into Minnesota, and we're gonna look a little bit at this Hennepin County attorney. She's been in the news over the weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, over the years since her entire term, she's made some pretty controversial decisions that have made heads turn. But now they're looking into a particular policy that they have, which mandates that I mean, it's a new policy within the last week,
Yeah.
mandates that they have to look into race. They have to take into account race when looking at a lot of these cases. So if it's a, underrepresented community or minority community, that has to play.
Don't we have to know what that actual look at it means? What does she mean by that? Because if it implied that if you were a white guy, you should get off, the world would come unglued, would it not? That the head of it said, no, white guys get off. You would be, the world would be upset. So I presume this isn't what her intentions are when looking at a person's race to decide on what the penalty should be. Would I be correct in drawing that conclusion?
I think so, yeah. And I mean, more so what they're trying to do is stop this kind of unfair practice of prosecuting certain individuals based on race more heavily. And I mean, I think it makes me think of the marijuana debate. We had a lot of incarcerated individuals that, have been exonerated now that it's legal. And that's kind of where it makes my head go. But yeah, it's a tough one. I understand there's good intentions, but does it work good in practice?
No, good intentions. Wait a minute.
So sure.
She's the one in charge of it. If she felt her people were doing this in a weighted way, going after any minority, she has that right. You're not prosecuting that one. To put out a statement saying we're going to look at your race and when we decide whether they're doing this, she
and they're
stepped
not
in
looking
it.
at race when they're deciding to determine if someone's guilty or not guilty of a crime. It's for plea deals and charging decisions. So
their job. Whether they're going to take you to, if they're taking Al to court or his buddy here of any other nationality, let's look at the color of their skin before we decide whether we're going to plea it out or do. She's in charge of that to begin with. And then you don't write it down. I mean, you're a fool. And then when she's a fool and she does it, she's stepping in it. Donald Trump's DOJ is not going for this.
And the problem is the 14th Amendment says that every citizen must be treated equally under the law. That's kind of where the DOJ is coming from, where we are equal. This is the law. You violate it. What comes of that if you did violate it? How long is your sentence? I don't know. That's kind of the gray area here and why the DOJ is looking at it.
Well, and equal treatment, it depends what the treatment or equal means, because we can't decide what lewd means. There's no way the Minnesota Supreme Court is going to walk around this one and get out of the way. Okay, got time for one more if you have a minute and a half.
Yeah, CD2, little update. I mean, last week we talked about Angie Craig tossing her name in for U.S. Senate. Right. I think she's a very strong contender for that race. She, quite frankly, might have it in the bag. She's got a lot of money. She is an expert fundraiser. She's done very well in CD2. She flipped the seat in 2018. But now we have an open congressional district, and a lot of names are coming out of the framework. So we had former Lakeville Mayor Matt Little toss his name in, and now we have Minnesota State Senator Matt Klein of Mendota Heights, which is the utmost northern part of CD2. CD2 is an odd district, got suburbs, a little bit of the city kind of nestled in there, and then a little bit of rural Minnesota too. But I don't know what's going to happen. Republicans, no big names have come out yet.
Well, it's another day. They say we can't put our names in the hat because we're still in session. Well, Matt Klein seemed to have the kahunas to do it. Yeah. And let's throw this out here. You got to love Senator Klein. And I which way this goes, not my never mind. But he already came out and said, yeah, I'm putting my hat in the ring, and I'm going to a primary. If I have to, I'm going to a primary. It's like he must feel.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean.
Quite frankly, I think Minnesota's caucus process with BPOUs and all that is a little bit outdated, so I do understand. But it does make me think, Republicans with this Action for Liberty stuff that we've talked about on this show, eroding the caucus process. I wonder if similar things are happening on the DFL side too, and they're kind of having some internal party breakdown.
Well, it seems weird to come out and say it right away in your first day. By the way, I'm going to the primary, but good for him. Megan, I apologize. I need to get the old man out here. Can we just all agree to leave things alone for now till I pass? You guys can go on and ruin this thing afterwards, but let me go first.
We will see. I mean, next week I might let you do the old man thing again. Who knows? But I permitted it this week. We had a little break. We cooled down. It's all good. We'll be back at it next week. Megan's News and Review on the Al Travis Show, where we talk about the top Minnesota news stories of the week.
There are many ways to